Hi, sweetheart. I am reading today in the text, chapter 13, The Guiltless World. And in paragraph 5, there's a line that says, help him to give his gift of light to all who think they wander in the darkness, and let him gather them into his quiet sight that makes them one. And I was reflecting on this and relating it to an experience I had earlier today where I was meditating and it hit me really hard. It hit me really hard, just like boom. This deep knowing of judgment of any kind, especially self-judgment. I mean, maybe not especially, but including self-judgment, is such a waste of time and energy. It's useless. It doesn't accomplish anything. And as I read this line, help him to give his gift of light to all who think they wander in the darkness, it comes to mind how often in A Course in Miracles, it talks about no matter what we think we've done, no matter what perceptual nightmare we have lived, no matter what grievances we are holding on to or shame we are holding on to, God's judgment is still that we are his perfect son, perfect, whole, and complete. And for the ego, that will never make sense because the ego is always comparing. Am I better than this person? Am I worse than that person? Who's the best? Who's the worst? You know, who deserves to be condemned? Who do I need to condemn today? Who do I need to venerate today? The ego cannot understand the concept of completely letting go of judgment. There is cause and effect. Cause and effect is a useful tool. It's a useful learning tool. It's a useful learning device here on Earth School. Christians call it law of the harvest. In Hinduism, it's referred to as karma. The idea is that what you put out returns. So on a very practical level, I never need to worry about someone getting their just desserts or getting what they have coming to them, because surely we will get what we have coming to us, myself included. And at the same time, A Course in Miracles teaches us this very gentle and compassionate perspective to look on ourselves and others, not as evil, but as ignorant. Not as flawed, but lost. If you had a child who was lost in the woods and was terrified, it wouldn't take anything away from that child's innate perfection and goodness, even if that child was terrified, was making poor decisions based on the terror that they were in, was running in the wrong direction and getting even more lost. We are asked to help him give his gift of light to all who think they wander in the darkness, and let him gather them into his quiet sight that makes them one. And the way we best do that for ourselves and for others is not seeing others as inherently bad or wrong, but having that compassion that they might be lost and they might be confused, and not going into judgment. We can use discernment. Discernment and judgment are fundamentally different. They might look like cousins. They might look similar, but they're actually complete opposites. Because judgment says there's something wrong with you, And it's my job to point that out or to notice that and to put myself above you. Discernment doesn't require any judgment. It can simply be, using my wise mind, I see that this situation is not in alignment. What can I do to elevate this situation? What can I do to offer love, grace, compassion, and gentleness to this situation? And sometimes the very best thing we can do is to walk away. Sometimes the very best thing we can do is to not get involved at all because we're not being asked to. And that requires listening to that inner guide that A Course in Miracles talks about, that inner teacher. There will be times where we will feel like, okay, I would like to help. This feels right. This feels resonant. My discernment is telling me I can offer this support in this situation. We do that. We don't worry about the results. We just do what we feel called to do. And then we move forward. And there's other times. There have been many times in my life where I wanted to jump in with my sword and get involved and fight injustice and fix things and force and coerce. And my ego had a certain way things needed to look. And I wanted to be the one that went in there and enforced it and made sure it looked that way. And without fail, that created a bigger mess. So I have finally learned, in large part, thanks to A Course in Miracles, that it is not my job to fix or force. It is my job to show up as a light in the dark and help him to give his gift of light to all who think they wander in the darkness. And to remind them by mirroring back to them their love, their goodness, their innate wholeness. I mirror that back instead of mirroring back the delusion, instead of mirroring back the nightmare. It's so difficult to do that. And yet those of us who commit to this and learn how to do this, we're breaking curses. We're breaking the delusion. We're restoring it to truth. Because it's so easy when someone comes up to you and they're acting ugly for you to mirror back ugliness. It's natural. The natural man does that. It's a natural thing to do. We've all done it. It is supernatural. It is godly to instead refuse to mirror back the delusion, refuse to mirror back their ugliness, and instead mirror back their beauty. To look past the lies, look past the nightmare, and see the light of God in their eyes. And so often that will help wake others up to realize, oh, I was lost. I was in a delusion, but I'm not that. I am still God's perfect son. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I appreciate you so much. You are a light in the dark. You wouldn't even be watching this video. You wouldn't even have gotten this far if you weren't. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for shining your light so brightly.